Deep breath, deep breath. Good job.
Hi guys, welcome back to Fastcuts. Today we have come up with an American heist action thriller film titled Ambulance. Released in 2022, directed and produced by Michael Bay. The movie speaks about the biggest bank heist in Los Angeles history. $32 million and the dilemma by which the protagonist is forced to be a part of this. So without wasting much time, let's dive into the movie.
The Ambulance is a thrilling story of two brothers who conducted a bank robbery and their encounter with the police. Without going into much binge talk, let's delve into the world of Ambulance. The first scene shows two children walking through the street. It is the childhood days of Will and his brother Danny, the lead roles in this movie. In the next scene, we can see Los Angeles City after several years. There, we can see well-matured Will, who is an ex-military man. He looked very desperate as his wife was suffering from some severe illness and required a tremendous amount of money for her treatment. He had applied for a loan in the bank, but it was rejected. Though he tried to contact somebody in the bank, the call was not attended. After many attempts, his call was attended by a lady in the bank, but she informed him that she couldn't do anything and disconnected the call. His wife and son were standing there, and they lost all hope of getting the loan. Will told her that everything would be fine and need not worry. Afterwards, he left the place as he had a driver's duty. His wife was asking him whether the work was with Danny. She asked so as she was not very fond of Danny. At the same time, Danny called Will and asked him to reach out to the destination soon. In the next scene, we can see the movie's heroine, Cam Thompson, a paramedical officer traveling in an ambulance along with her associate. They received information about an accident, and suddenly they reached the place. They saw a car that met with an accident, and although nothing happened to the lady inside, she was crying and pointed to her daughter inside the car. Kim examined her and found one steel bar had been pierced through her body. Kim pacified the little girl and asked her to hold her hand firmly and to take a deep breath. Some people there had cut the steel rod, and the little girl was in severe pain. They took her to a hospital and then went for food. Will reached Danny's place. He was standing in a car garage. Danny embraced him as soon as he saw Will. After inquiring Will about his family, Danny took him out for a cup of coffee. Will and Danny were talking about their father, and Danny showed him their father's watch. He got it while cleaning some debris. Then Danny opened a box and took out a pair of shoes from their father and a photograph of both of them when they were young. After this event, Will told him about the surgery, and Danny asked him, how much does he need for the surgery? Some other people came to meet Danny at that time, and the people inside the garage were also getting ready to leave somewhere. Danny told Will that they are going for a bank robbery, and he wanted Will as their driver. Danny went out to check the car brought for the bank operation and returned. Will was against the idea of bank robbery as he is an ex-military person and had some ethics. He was raging out on Danny. Danny was trying to convince Will, saying that they won't shoot or endanger anybody, and they would only make people frightened by showing the gun. He was also telling Will to do at least this for the family and save his wife's life. Afterwards, we can see Cam and her accomplice Scott having food in a hotel. Scott was telling her that the little girl they had saved is safe. Cam told him that she doesn't want to hear anything more about it. She had advised him not to hang on something after the injured people are safely admitted to the hospital, and their responsibility ends once they are in the hospital. In the next scene, we see two policemen going straight into the bank. The policeman named Zach is in love with a lady working in the bank, and they are going to the bank to meet her. Her name is Kim, and the other policeman asked Zach whether he had proposed to her. Zach said no, but also told that he was waiting for an opportunity to propose. Danny and his team were going to the bank in a truck. Danny asked Will whether he is all right, and he said yes. They parked the car in the underground of the bank. When they are about to enter the lift, one person passed them pulling a trolley. But Danny and his friends don't see him. At the same time, Zach and the other policeman reached there, and Zach went directly inside the bank, while the other policeman waited inside the parked car in front of the bank. The man who was pulling the trolley went to a parked car outside the bank and informed the people inside the car that Danny and team had arrived to loot the bank. They were police officers who came in disguise on getting information about the robbery. One of them called up their captain and informed the situation. They were planning to bust Danny and team when they come out of the bank. Sack was knocking on the door of the bank to enter. After some time, Danny came and opened the door for Sack. Danny pretended as the bank's manager and informed him that since internal arrangements are going on, it would take 20 minutes to resume banking activities. But Sack told him that it is urgent for him, and not to make any suspicion, Danny lets him inside the bank. When Sack was coming inside, Danny's accomplices hid behind the pillars. Though Danny arranged one bank officer for Sack, he demanded Danny to arrange Kim as he has been after her for some time. Sack asked Danny the full name of Kim and he replied it was Kim Parker. Sack went directly to Kim, and she was sitting there frightened. Sack told her that he had been waiting a long time to tell her about his affection and they could go for dating and all. He had realized that her full name was Kim Daniels, and what Danny had told him was wrong. When Sack observed the face of others there, he sensed some issues there, and at the same time, Danny pointed his revolver at Sack and told him that he and everyone there were at gunpoint and asked him to wave his hands to his friend policeman standing outside, as if everything is right here. Sack waved his hand at his accomplice standing outside. At the same time, Will and other team members were filling their bags with cash. Their truck outside had some starting trouble, and without knowing what was going on inside, Sack's friend helped them to repair the truck. He looked inside as Sack was taking more time and saw that they all are coming out at gunpoint. He took out his gun and pointed it at Danny and team, but the truck from behind was about to hit him, but he escaped narrowly. Then started a gun battle between Sack's friend, along with those officers waiting outside, and Danny and his team. Scott and Cam were talking at a nearby place. Scott asked her whether she is having a boyfriend. Cam said yes and said he is a doctor. Then they heard the sound of firing and rushed to the place in their ambulance. Gun battle continued in front of the bank, and the police shot down those who came in front of the bank, including the truck driver. Danny and Will were moving in a truck through the underground after making Sack hostage. When Danny turned his attention away, Sack attacked him, and on seeing this, Will fired Sack. Somehow Danny and Will managed to come out, though police rounded the place. Danny came back and took the gun Sack had. Will asked him whether this is to fire at the police officers again. Danny said he is doing this as he is running out of options. Sack's friend policeman saw Sack injured and sought Cam for medical help. After doing first aid for Sack, they took him in the ambulance through the parking. Suddenly Danny came in front of the ambulance, resisted and pointed a gun at them. Danny hit Scott, and he became unconscious. Danny snatched their bags and other things inside the ambulance and asked Will to drive the ambulance. Danny entered the backside of the ambulance. Danny started talking to the much frightened Cam at gunpoint. He asked her to do her work and assured her she would not be harmed. After going a little distance, Will informed Danny about the police checking outside. Danny requested Cam to help them and said that he will not intervene in her duties and told her that she could save their life. One policeman standing outside pointed his gun at Will and asked him who let them go out. Will told him that he is taking one injured policeman to hospital. The policeman came inside to check the ambulance. Cam shouted at the policeman asking him what he is doing as it is an emergency to take the injured policeman to the hospital. That policeman realizes the emergency and lets them go. Danny was hiding inside the ambulance and told Will they should escape somehow. Afterwards, Sack's friend saw Scott lying unconscious in ambulance and realized that Danny and team had escaped in ambulance and informed other policemen through walkie-talkie. The captain of the police team also reached the place. A helicopter also arrived at the location to follow the people who escaped in ambulance. Then Will stopped the ambulance and showed Danny the helicopter following them. Will was panicking and demanded to go back home to meet his wife and son. Danny consoled him and told him to drive the ambulance as nobody is better than Will to drive on these roads and they all can escape. Then Kim sprayed something on the face of Danny and ran out of the ambulance. But Danny brought her back at gunpoint. The condition of Sack was getting worse and Cam resumed taking care of him. The captain and team were planning to follow the ambulance. Captain kept his dog safely in another car. At the same time, an FBI agent also got the message of bank robbery and he got up to go to the spot. In the next scene, we can see a van coming to the place where the captain and team were sitting. The footage from the helicopter was seen in the van and they were following the ambulance based on this information. Captain also entered the van. Many police vehicles were approaching the ambulance and somehow Will managed to escape from them. Cam also called Danny to help her as she could not manage Sack alone. Will also asked Danny to help her save the life of Sack. Reluctantly, Danny started helping Cam, as per her directions. It was difficult for them to manage Sack during the chase, and Cam told Danny that he should be admitted to the hospital soon. They found it extremely difficult to escape from the chasing police vehicles, and hence, Will initiated an idea. He told Danny that his experience in the military can be used in this situation wherein the culprits used to escape. The idea was to bring many ambulances which resembled their ambulance, to drown the policemen in confusion and to escape. They checked for the same type of ambulance and saw it in the next block. Danny sought the help of Poppy to steal an ambulance from the next block to save them and offered him half of the 160 million they stole, and Poppy agreed to the deal. Then Danny arranged another friend to spray paint the ambulance. Since Sack badly needed blood, Cam took it from herself. Police officers were trying to corner the ambulance to a specific place. Realizing this, Danny tried to shoot at one chasing policeman. But Cam intervened and Danny lost his target. Danny got angry and started mistreating Cam. Will doesn't like what Danny was doing and questioned him. Danny shouted at him, asking him to concentrate only on driving. Then Danny opened the back door of the ambulance and brought Cam to gunpoint and asked the chasing policeman to go back. But it was Sack's friend, and he was reluctant to go back. Then the captain's dog started making sounds from that car, and the captain heard the sound of his dog through the walkie-talkie. By mistake, the policeman had taken the car in which the captain had put his dog safely. Danny was firing at the car, and the captain got angry with the policeman for taking that car. Then captain ordered the police force to return to save the life of Sack, Cam and his dog. Again they escaped from the police, and Sack started bleeding heavily at that time. The police officers assembled at the place, and the FBI agent also reached that place. His name is Clark, and he explained to the captain that Danny started the robbery at 17, and his father was also a big criminal. They don't hesitate to kill people, and captain asked Clark how he know all these. Clark told him that Danny was his classmate. Danny called up his friend and ensured that everything is ready for the ambulance painting. Captain and Clark were traveling in a car, and the captain told him that this was Danny's 38th bank robbery, and it is not easy to catch him. Clark again explained to the captain about Danny and said to him that he is an expert in criminology. Sack's condition was getting worse, and he urgently needed an operation. Cam told Danny about this, and he called the doctor. Cam told Danny that she can do the procedure according to the doctor's direction. Two other doctors also started giving tips to Cam. Will told Danny that he knew how to execute it and has done it in the military earlier. He asked Danny to drive the ambulance so he could help Cam. Will told her that he was in the army and started doing the operation according to the doctor's directions. Will told Danny to drive slowly, but he was not listening. The bullet was in his spleen, and it should not be broken while taking the bullet out. Unluckily, the spleen got broken, and blood came out heavily. The phone got disconnected, and to stop the heavy bleeding, Cam used her hair clip to close the spleen and it worked. Then they started talking about personal matters, and Will assured Cam that he would save her from all this chaos. The captain called the doctor, who's Cam's boyfriend, and inquired about the operation done on Sack. He had told the captain that he has less chance of surviving as it is a much more complicated operation, even for expert doctors. Suddenly captain informed his team that Sack is not alive and they can shoot directly at the ambulance with snipers. Clark told the captain that the paramedical officers were there and hence to chuck the order. But the captain was not ready to revise his decision. Clark called Sack, which Cam attended, and he realized that Sack was still alive. Clark had informed to the captain and they had aborted the plan, though few gunshots were fired in the time between. Danny contacted the captain and asked him whether he don't want any of the hostages alive, and the captain replied that the firing was accidental. But Danny was not satisfied with his reply, and he planned to shoot Cam and give a counterattack to the police force. But Will turned the ambulance suddenly to save Cam from Danny's attempt. Danny raged out and started smashing Will. Clark realized that Danny's brother Will is the person driving the ambulance, and he called up him to change his mind, but he said no to Clark. At the time when Cam approaches Will to take blood for Sack, Will received a video call from his wife. Cam overheard the call and realized that his situation only brought him to the bank robbery, and he is an innocent guy. In the next scene, Danny was standing outside the ambulance near a river, and suddenly, the helicopters started chasing them. Somehow they escaped and reached the place where the painting for the ambulance was arranged. Danny told Will to escape if he wants to go home, and Will said he won't leave him alone in this situation. The painting was completed in no time, and they reached the place where all ambulances brought in by Poppy was lying. Then they started implementing the plan by taking different routes for the ambulances. Police began chasing one by one, and first they caught the person who painted the ambulance. When police caught him, he started talking like a madman, and in the next ambulance, Poppy's son was there. He had planted a bomb in the ambulance and drove it directly to the police force. He jumped out of it, and the ambulance exploded in the middle of the police force. Zach's friend policeman saw Poppy's son running out of the ambulance, and he started following him. He caught him and killed him. Poppy was watching all these on TV, and when he saw his son's death, he screamed in despair. Then Danny placed a machine gun in a car and sent it to the police officers. Many police officers died from gunshots. Even the captain was also knocked out. Danny and Will went to Poppy's place as planned earlier, and Will directed Cam not to come out of the ambulance under any circumstances. Poppy was sitting there with great dismay as he lost his son. Danny conveyed his grief. Afterwards, Danny gave him half of the amount as agreed previously. Zach was slowly regaining his consciousness in the ambulance. After retrieving it fully, Cam told him that one among them is innocent, and he provided him with blood. Poppy realized that Cam and one policeman is in the ambulance. He told Danny that he will keep Cam and the policeman to compensate for the loss of his son. He also told Danny that, since Cam saw Poppy, his people in his place, he won't let her go for his security reasons. Though Danny agreed to this initially, Will disagreed and told Poppy that their deal is over and he won't leave Cam there. Poppy told Danny that Will is not like him as he disagreed, and he is not his actual brother. Then, Danny saw Poppy's goons surrounding Will to shoot him. After hinting Will to start firing at them, they are shot down one by one. Moments of goosebumps occur as Danny told Poppy that Will is genuinely his brother while shooting him down. Somehow both of them escapes through the bullets and reach the ambulance. Misunderstanding that somebody is coming to attack her, Cam shot down Will using Zach's gun. They escaped from the scene after sneaking Will in the ambulance. Danny was driving the car. Police and Poppy's men were still attacking the ambulance. Danny requested Cam to save Will at any cost. Cam was trying her best to save Will. After handing over some money to Cam, Will told her to give it to his wife as she requires it. The condition of Will was getting worse. Police officers were standing outside the ambulance in the hospital to shoot anyone coming out. But Danny and Cam were trying to save Will. Danny saw the gun lying near Zach and he thought Zach had shot Will previously, and he was about to shoot Zach. Suddenly Cam told him that she was one and shot Will by mistake. Danny told Cam that Will had done all these to save them all. He was in great desperation. He told her that he will kill Cam in front of them outside. Then he brought her near the door. When they opened the door, surprisingly, Will fired at Danny to save the life of Cam. Policemen had taken both of them into their custody. In the meantime, Cam tried to convince Clark and told him that Will saved her life. But Clark told her that they are criminals and he can't help. Danny was thinking of their childhood days and slowly closed his eyes and took his last breath. On seeing this tragic event, Will started crying. Will's wife also came to the scene when she saw Will's condition and started breaking down. On hearing this, Cam got up and went near Will, where Zach's friend was also there. She told him that Will saved the life of his friend Zach, and then both of them took Will to the hospital. Then Cam was discussing with Will's wife, and both of them expressed their hope of him recovering. In between, Cam had put the stolen money in the bag of Will's wife without her knowledge. Inside the hospital, both Zach and Will were recovering, and Zach told Clark that Will saved his life. When Will opened his eyes, he saw his wife and son in front and apologized for his doings. Cam went straight to the hospital, where the little girl she saved earlier was admitted. On seeing that little girl recovering, Cam felt happy and emotional. Then she came out wearing her paramedical coat. The movie shuts down by portraying a calm and cool night in New York City. Summing up, we have to give all the credits to the director Michael Bay, and he's the reason why this movie excelled in every field of cinematic experience. He just glued us to the screen and made that tension and thrill prevail throughout the movie. Each and everyone who likes car chases and plenty of action can go for this movie. Now, if you like our content, please do show your support by subscribing and hitting the like button. Do share it with your friends too. Till we see again, goodbye.